Well, if you are a 40, 50, 60-year-old man that's got, I work with guys that have specifically at least 3 stone or more to lose, is running the right thing for you to do. You know this yourself. Every time your foot strikes the floor, anywhere between 3 and even 10 times your body weight is going to go through your ankles, through your knees, through your hips, through your lower back. And then you feel great when you're doing the run. Oh, I'm breathing hard. I've got all these wonderful endorphins going. I'm red in the face. I feel like I'm moving forwards. And then you wake up the following day, you feel awful. And when you feel awful, what do you then go and do? You open the fridge and you eat your own emotions, right? That's what most men in the 40s, 50s, and 60s are going to do. I would be encouraging everybody that is currently able to still be deadlifting in some fashion, squatting in some fashion, bench pressing, overhead pressing, because all of these things are compound movements. They use more than just one muscle group. If we do a bicep curl where it's only really bicep that's working, it's functional, but those other movements are really giving you a big bang for your buck. And I would be encouraging everybody to do that with that walking and other types of cardiovascular exercise as well. And the thing is on that, if you think a squat or a deadlift, you don't actually move off the spot. So when you're saying about, the minimum time, you get someone to go and do a 3, 4, 5 rep maximum lift and you measure their heart rate after that, you are breathing out of your ass.
Yeah.
It is incredibly tough. But just on that, and talking about some of the things we've spoken about before, it's about you mentioned about the intensity, and that there is some data to suggest or to confirm that the higher intensity stuff is what produces the higher amount of testosterone. We also need to be looking at the safety of this for a man of that age. So when guys come to work with us, they are chomping at the bit. They're so enthusiastic. They're ready to just absolutely tackle life and get a grip of it. And I know that they are going into the gym and they will be going at that at 110%. It's literally like they've just watched Rocky 4 on repeat and they're just like, right, I want to go for it. I know they are. I can see it in their eyes. And we have to actually manipulate their training to bring them back to about 70% on week 1. Week 2, we knock it up to about 80, 85%. Week 3, it's 90, 95%. And then by the time it comes to week 4, now they could go and get a Rocky tattoo because they are going to go for it. You've got to meet yourself where you're at. And know that when you do meet yourself where you're at and you progressively work into this, like I just suggested with the percentages per week, that in a month's time, you are going to be taking control over what your testosterone is doing in that given moment in time, because you are going to be training at a almost maximum capacity.
How would you want to start a guy at 40 training differently to a guy who's 20? I know you've sort of touched on the idea of intensity, but what practically, other than just not training as hard, would you do to a guy who's 40?
Yeah, it would probably start off with the volume. And, so let's just say, for example, if you're 20 and you're doing 25 sets in your workout, we might actually say that we'll cut that to maybe 15. So the volume of your workout is just a little bit less until we can establish how well you as an individual actually recover. We'd then obviously look at the recovery. So perhaps maybe when you were 20, you were doing a typical bro split, right? So
What's a bro split?
you know what a bro split is. A bro split is you do chest on a Monday,
Yeah.
you do legs on a Tuesday, you do back on a Wednesday, you do, et cetera. So you're
that a
giving,
thing?
it's a body part a day.
Oh,
So that is a
yeah,
typical kind of
right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of training program where you would split the body parts up.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
'cause that's what you do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Okay.
For men over 40, for you going in and hitting all of your chest all in on one session, how much are we actually going to recover from that by the time you do it again? We get confused that, I'm feeling a bit sore and a bit stiff as, I've had a good workout. Doesn't always necessarily mean that. So what you'll hear a lot of people talking about now is like a 3-day split where they're talking about doing push, pull, legs. Maybe that's something you've heard of a bit more. So it would be all your pushing muscles on day 1, which would be your chest, your shoulders, and probably your triceps. Another day would be your pull. So it'd be all of your back stuff and your biceps. And then you'd have your leg session, and you could probably gather what that involves, right? So you're still getting everything trained in, but you've got a lot more days off. So rest is obviously incredibly important. And there's all sorts of people, nattering on about rest and stuff on podcasts and social media and whatnot. But it really is important for those men over 40, over 50, that they realize that rest is a big deal.
Is there an exercise that you think is really underrated? as you get older that we should be doing more of that we don't think
Yeah,
about?
and I'm going to go back to deadlifts and squats. I think a lot of men think they can't do them, and they will give you one of the two following things. One, I've got bad knees. One, I've got bad lower back. There are reasons why you've got that. And you know what? Yes, there may well be mechanical issues, but at the end of the day, if I was to bend over now and untie your shoelaces, which I still might do, what am I doing? I'm doing a deadlift, right? If I was to nip out there to use the toilet, right, what am I doing? I'm squatting to get on the toilet. Not necessarily that everyone's going to be untying your shoelaces for the rest of their life, but we're going to be bending over and picking stuff up. That's a deadlift. We're going to be squatting down to get in a car, get in a chair, get on the loo, get on a sofa. These are squats. So what we don't want to do is to get to the point where we can't do the typical things that our bodies are supposed to do. So there's going to be ways around it. It doesn't mean you have to do the textbook version of a squat. You know, I'm due a total knee replacement on one knee and a partial on the other, right? So for me, to do full range squats, arse to grass, isn't happening. Or if it does happen, it's by accident, and then I'm going to pass out or fall over or whatever, right? So what I'll do instead is I'll do things like cyclist squats, where I'll put a couple of big bumper plates under my heels. It changes the angle that I'm squatting, and I can now squat, you know, to a relatively decent depth. Or I'll do like box squats or bench squats. So I'm literally aiming for a bench behind me with my ass, knowing that I'm safe, that I can touch and go off of the bench. I'm also not doing it heavy. You know, same with people doing deadlifts. Most people's deadlift form when they start is shocking. You know, they look like a dog in the park doing the business, right? And that obviously we don't want to do that. We're going to have all sorts of spinal problems that are going to cause all sorts of problems. So we can do things like block pulls and rack pulls where we're meeting ourselves where we're at, and we're just going to a particular depth of that deadlift that it is safe, it is healthy, and it is keeping that function strong. Then we address things like mobility, flexibility, etc., to be able to get to the point where you can do those a little bit better than you currently are.
So maybe top one or two things you would suggest to men to try and reduce their belly fat.
Just number one, move more. Just move more. It's not like you need to go to the gym and start deadlifting the same as Eddie Hall or anything like that. It's just move more. It's like a three-part thing that all kind of comes together. One was move more. Number two was just try and eliminate as much of the shite as possible. You know, as much of the stuff that comes in packets and, you know, and the man-made stuff. Just try and do that. Just before I carry on, remember, I'm all about being realistic and sustainable, right? So it doesn't mean you need to do this forever. I have a Mars bar every single day. My car is just parked outside those doors, and I can tell you for now, there is a Mars bar in my center console, and there's a Mars bar wrapper in my door pocket, right? So total clarity there, right? So try and reduce or cut down on the shite. And number three, drink significantly more water. Those three things are going to make an incredible difference within the first 5 to 7 days.
Thanks for watching this episode of Man Alive. If you would like to hear more about men's health or might be interested in hearing about the health habits of some of our amazing celebrities, then please listen to or watch more of the episodes on the Man Alive podcast, or you can follow me directly on Instagram at Dr. Jeff Foster. Thanks again for watching or listening.